step one is to draw a horizontal line slightly above the middle of the page. Okay, and you can use a ruler or you can just sort of freehand it. I'm going to freehand this one. Step two is we are now going to be drawing in our vanishing point. And the way to do that is, the way that I do this is I make a little X or a dot on that horizon line as close to the middle as possible. Alright, next step, we are going to be drawing the back of the room, like the back wall. So to do this, you can draw a rectangle around that vanishing point. Now when doing this, you want the horizon line to be above the halfway point of the room, okay, of the back wall. So if I have my wall here, okay, notice that the line, okay, is above the halfway point. All right, and let's see here, we're going to want this over just a little bit. You want that vanishing point right in the middle of the back room like that. Next, we're going to add the sides of the room. All the lines that we're using, either A are vertical, up and down, horizontal, which are left to right, or they connect and go back to the vanishing point. So, using a ruler or a straight edge, I realize some of you guys might not have rulers. I'm going to be using a cribbage board. I am going to be drawing lines from the vanishing point through the edges of my rectangle. That's going to create the three-dimensional room look. Okay, once again, notice the line comes from the vanishing point through the edge of the room. So now essentially what we have here is we have the walls of our room. Okay. From here we can start adding elements on the walls of our room. Okay, so I'm going to start by adding a door. So to do this, I'm going to draw a line just from the vanishing point, but it's going to be just below that ceiling line. Okay, so with my ruler, I'm going to draw the line from our vanishing point up to the top there. Alright, now this would be the top of my door. And as I was saying, all lines are either going back to the vanishing point, they're either vertical or they're horizontal. Okay. Now for the edges of the door, clearly those are not going back to the vanishing point, so they are going to be vertical lines. Alright, so there we have the start of our door. You can also come back at any point in time and clean up any of the lines. Like for example, I'm not really loving my initial sketch of the back room here, so I'm just going to lightly erase that. And I'm going to add in some more tighter, cleaner lines. Next, we're going to add a table to the middle of our room. Okay. So to do this, we can start by putting a horizontal line right about where we want the top of the table to start. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to put a line. Actually, it's a little too wide, so I'm going to erase it a little bit. But you want it to be in the center of that back rectangle. Okay. And then from here, once again, using our vanishing point as a line, we're going to start from that line and then we're going to come out to here. Vanishing point through. Okay. And as you can see, there's a little bit left over here, so we can erase that. And then here we have the start of the top of our table. From here we can start to clean up our drawing. Right now we have a lot of lines going back to our vanishing point, and it starts to look a little messy, and I guess it looks kind of confusing as well. So we can take this time here to just clean it up a little bit and get rid of all the lines that we don't need. Okay, our next step, we can start to add some details, some depth, some three-dimensionality. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little depth to the tabletop. Okay, and like I was saying, and I'm going to reiterate this a lot, there's only the three types of lines that we use. It's the vertical lines, the up and down, the horizontal lines left and right, and then the lines that go back to our vanishing point. So here these are going to be some vertical lines because we want to show the sides of the table here. So now we have that width of the table. Next I'm going to add some legs to our table, and with this I'm going to be using some vertical lines. Start here. You can use your straight edge if you want. Some of these you can eyeball too, whatever you're most comfortable with. But you want them to be about the same width, and you want them to be the same location on the edges of our tables. Okay. Now to add the inside of our legs, okay, this bottom point, once again, is going to be going to our vanishing point because it's going away from us. So I'm going to draw a little line here. Same thing here. Okay, and then these lines go up. And there we have the depth of our legs. Next we're going to be adding a floor. Okay, so with this, using the horizontal line, not the horizon line, the horizontal line for the bottom of our back wall, what I'm going to do is I am going to equally space out just a little mark. You want to go all the way across, even though it's at the top of our table. Okay, and then from here, using our ruler and the vanishing point, we're going to draw lines from our vanishing point through those lines on the bottom of our floor here, and it's going to create floorboards. So now we have the beginnings of a floor for our room. Again, I'm going to come in now, I'm just going to clean it up a little bit with an eraser, get rid of some of these lines. Next I'm going to add a window. So add a window here, very similar to how we did the door. Our lines are going to come from our vanishing point. We just need to kind of pick a region on the wall here where we want our window. So what I start with is our vanishing point lines. Next we're going to add the vertical lines. So this is where you can kind of pick where you want your window to go. Go here. Similar to how we did our table, we're going to add some depth to our window. I'm going to start by doing some horizontal lines on the edges here. Okay. Now I'm going to be adding a line from the edge of our window to our vanishing point. Okay. Now we have another vertical line connecting these 2 points. and then another line from the corner of our window to the vanishing point through the edge of that point in our window. Okay. Again, I am now going to come in and clean up some of the extra lines that I have in here. Next, I'm going to be adding a window to our back wall. And that's going to be very similar to how we did our initial rectangle. It's going to be in the center, and the horizon line is going to be slightly above the middle of that rectangle. And similar to how we did the table, I'm going to be adding depth to the window in the back. Again, by starting in the corner, making lines to the vanishing point, corner to the vanishing point. I'm going to do that in all 4 corners. Alright, and then we're going to connect those edges using vertical and horizontal lines. Doing our best to keep everything parallel. Now we've reached the point in the drawing where we can begin to add things throughout our room. So I'm going to take the next couple minutes here and I'm going to add some small details throughout our drawing. And then so once you add some more details, obviously I would continue to add. Once you add details and get to the point where you feel like your room is complete, right now I would not consider this room to be complete. I would add more details throughout. You want to make sure that you add your horizon line back into the distance. Okay. Sometimes you can do with this. You can get a little creative, like. Here I'm going to do like some hills. Maybe like a little mountain in the background or something. That way it grounds your image and it makes it look more realistic. So it doesn't look like it's floating. From there, once you get your horizon line back in the windows there, you can come back in and you can clean up any lines that you don't like, that are still kind of hovering there. And then what I like to do, once you get that all cleaned up, is I like to go back in and with a darker pencil or with a heavier pencil, just kind of reinforce the lines that you want to really stand out. So I would come back in and I would probably reinforce like the edges of my table here, make them a little darker. We've talked about line weight earlier. This is where we can really work on that. If you want, you can add things like shadows on the inside of the table here. Yeah, you can come and just reinforce to make them pop a little bit more.